The webinar today is really to introduce everybody to Google Workspace, which, as you probably have heard by now, is the new branding from Google on what used to be called G Suite. Google Workspace is now going to be not only the name for this set of applications, but it's going to encompass a lot more than what you are getting right now within the G Suite world. You'll notice that some of the icons have been updated. So not only is it a rebranding, but it's sort of a refresh of the business tools that you're all accustomed to. The presenters today are going to be myself, Joey Maller. I'm the VP of Sales here at Upcurve Cloud. Brandon Ferrara, he's our Customer Success Manager at Upcurve Cloud, and Taylor Grandstaff, who's also a Customer Success Manager here at Upcurve Cloud. Many of you we've talked to in the past. Some of you we haven't talked to yet, but please reach out to us at any time, even post-webinar, as we are considered experts in the Google Workspace / G Suite world. So anything you need, we should be able to provide you with assistance or at least help you guide you in the right direction. To start, we wanted to kind of give you an overview in regards to some of the behind the scenes discussions that have been taking place at Google for the past few months as to why this change is happening and why now. Obviously, we're in this unprecedented time that forced a lot of people to accelerate their digital transformation. If you were the type of company that was running legacy platforms and then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, you were scrambling to figure out how to continue to operate at an efficient pace. Those companies that already took that leap to digital transform their business, meaning have a cloud first mentality, have a connected workforce that allows for distributed communication, were a lot better off and were able to scale a lot quicker and pivot to a work from home mentality. Work is no longer just a place, right? Work is a thing we do. And whether we like it or not, whether we agree with it or not, when this pandemic slowly starts to come to an end, things will be different, right? I hear the term, the new normal, but we like to say is the next normal, because the next normal is allowing people to work from home, having the ability to work from multiple devices, right? Having the ability to manage your time more preciously. And that is why Google Workspace really is at the forefront of this type of working environment. We're seeing more and more companies use more and more cloud applications. We're seeing more and more companies work from more places than just an office. We're seeing more and more companies managing multiple pieces of information. And that's regardless of the size of company you are. And why Workspace has really become the model of cloud first mentality is because Google was obviously born in the cloud for the cloud, right? Google saw that this type of working environment was going to be the standard at some point. And now with COVID, it just accelerated that. Most employees are spending too much time jumping from app to app, spending too much time searching for things within their environment, not knowing where certain files exist or emails or communication collateral. And a lot of time is wasted on just mundane admin tasks. So Google really asked themselves, how do we change this, right? And because of COVID, it has allowed everybody to look at things in a different manner, right? Think about a world where you have those flexible solutions, where you are able to work whenever, wherever, from any device, and the experience is the same, right? It's not different if you're on your tablet versus your office. It's not different if you're traveling somewhere versus if you're at home, right? Time now is more fragmented than ever, and we really are split between work and personal responsibilities. So imagine an environment where you're able to switch between that personal and business environment without the experience being too much different, right? And that solution really is Google Workspace. It's everything you need to get anything done in one place. It's a lot simpler to use, it's a lot more cohesive, and it brings everything together. And I'm going to pass it over to Brandon to walk you through, pass over to Taylor to kind of walk you through exactly what Google Workspace looks like at a high level. And then after that, we'll run into exactly what those different SKUs are now, what those different levels are of pricing, and what those different features are that come with each SKU. And again, yes, there will be a copy of the recording presented to everybody after, as well as the deck. So Taylor, if you wouldn't mind, I'll pass it over to you.
Awesome, thanks. So, Google has, been listening to customers and taking feedback just like we have, and provided feedback to them as well. A lot of people realize that, if you're working on a laptop at home versus a big setup you might have at the office, the experience can change a little bit. And so they wanted to maximize that screen space, maximize what you can do regardless of what screen you're on. So whether it's the mobile device or you're on the web version of Workspace, they're bringing more things into one interface. And this is a great example here with the mobile Gmail app, right? So at the bottom now, everything is all in one place. You don't have to have 4 different apps to have mail, chat, rooms, and meet all together. You can just switch between the tabs. And then some of the other nice things are in rooms, for example. If you share a file with a room or a group of people in rooms, you can go back and see a list of those in the room, or you can add tasks and assign those tasks to other people. So a lot less tab hopping, a lot faster to find that piece of work that you were using and get right back into what you were doing instead of having to switch between apps and go back out. Now, the same interface or a similar interface is available on the web for mail as well too. So your chat and your meet and all those things are in one place. Less tab hopping, finding the documents and the things you're working on, they're just right there. As well as improvements they're also making on the docs, sheets, and slides area coming soon. You're going to be able to have a video chat in kind of like a picture-in-picture situation on top of your actual work, whether it's a document or a sheet or something like that. So you can collaborate in real time. And really what that is it's the idea of that human-centered design, focusing on how the humans are collaborating together and making it as seamless and easy as possible for those interactions and that collaboration to take place. Kind of breaking down barriers between that, where you might run into somebody as you're walking past them in the office. This makes it a lot easier to just quickly ask a question or hop in a chat and have a quick conversation without having to schedule things all the time. Of course, calendar and scheduling is all there, but this allows for those shorter, quick collaborations that were part of office life, and they're trying to recreate a little bit of that in the digital world. On the next slide here, there's some categories where it kind of breaks it down, some of the points where they were really trying to open up the possibilities versus some of the old ways of doing things. So no matter where you are, your laptop, your mobile, the desk, you can just hop back in and get right to where you were. You can do a lot of customization to fit what you need as far as accessibility and other things like that. It is very integrated across the entire workflow now. That's one of the biggest differences, is that all the apps have stronger, deeper connections between each other. So it's easier to switch between different apps, and that flow just seems normal and makes sense. Collaboration happens in real time. You're in a room chatting with everybody. You can just add a video call to that chat live, and everybody joins it. You don't have to stop and go schedule something and then get links and send it. It's just one button and you're in a chat. Very flexible for different size teams. As far as being smart and predictive, they're adding a ton of machine learning and other features like that, where it'll actually kind of help you guess what you were trying to do. For example, in Sheets, it'll try to auto-complete an entire row of data for you now, or entire column of data based on what you put a couple of examples in there using machine learning. And that's along with the complex problem solving, providing a lot of machine learning to help you solve those problems. And the biggest one, of course, is just opening the lines of communication. Even though we may be further apart, there's multiple ways to communicate in the same interface. So whether you need to send an email, or you need to send a chat, or you need to hop on a video call, you can do that very quickly and efficiently and get the work done instead of figuring out how to get in touch with people. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Brandon next, and he's going to talk about some of the key differences between G Suite and the new Workspace licenses and really kind of break down those details.
Yeah, thanks, Taylor. So previously, G Suite had 3 tiers. It was basic, business, and enterprise, and of course the features were broken down for each tier. Now there are essentially 2 families of Workspace, and it's the business family and the enterprise family. So notice that the basic is gone. And it's being replaced by what we see here, Business Starter. So if you're on G Suite Basic now, this is what you would transition to. It's pretty much the exact same situation. It's the same price, $6, same storage limit, 30 gigabytes per user, and all the same features. So not really much of a change there. And the next tier up is going to be Business Standard. This is where you're probably at now if you're on business, that's that $12 mark, but there are going to be some changes. So now it is 2 terabytes per user pooled. So you can take however many users you have in your domain, times that by 2, and that's how much the entire domain has in terms of storage. So it's not all just individual like we just saw on Starter. So if you have 10 users, then you have 20 terabytes. One person can use 18 terabytes of that, and then the other 2 terabytes are for everybody else in the domain. It's a pretty extreme example, but it is usually enough for most organizations. You see that the meetings jump up to 150 users versus the 100 that we just saw in Basic. And then you get some features here in the bottom, this additional functionality that did not used to exist at this level. So that's one of the things that Google brought down from what was G Suite Enterprise down to the business standard. And that's going to be breakout rooms, co-moderation, recordings, Q&A, polls, and attendance tracking, all for Google Meet. That is definitely where Google is putting a lot of their resources right now. A lot of their engineering team is working on Meet because of everything that's going on right now. A lot of people need to have these video conferences. So some of these things are roadmap. Some of them are early access, like breakout rooms is already out, Q&A polls. If you're in the early adopter program, that's already available to you. Attendance tracking is coming soon as well. Business Plus is the next tier up, and it's the last part of the business family. And you're gonna see some more themes that we saw in the last 2. So storage changes again from 2 terabytes to 5 terabytes per user pooled, and it's the same setup. So however many users you have times 5. Meetings jump up to 250. But then you get a lot more security features on this tier than you did in the standard one. So you get Google Vault, and that's Google's backup archiving retention tool. So anything that's sent via email or anything that's put into your drive or created in your drive is going to be stored in a secondary location. That can be searched with eDiscovery. You can run audits on it, reports, and export that data if you ever need to do it. So that's good for accidental or intentional deletion. It's also good for onboarding and offboarding. If you need to see everything that somebody sent that's no longer with the organization, say, I want to see everything this person sent between this day and this day that had this keyword and this attachment. That's really granular, but that's the kind of thing that you can do with Google Vault. You're also going to get basic data loss prevention. So that's DLP for your email. And that is going to be for sensitive information or confidential information, something that shouldn't be leaving the domain. So there are some preset templates that you can use with it, or you can define your own custom rules. But the preset templates are things like credit card information, ID, bank account, and routing numbers. So if any of that tries to leave the domain through your email, it will stop the user. And there's a couple of options. Either it will say, you're just trying to share this outside of the domain, are you sure you want to do this? They can click continue, or as an admin, you can set it up so that they just cannot share it at all. If they attempt to do it, it'll say by your admin's settings, you are not allowed to share this piece of information that hits these rules. Then you get some more mobile device management. You can do things like Android management and wipe devices and all that kind of stuff that you would on the business tier previously on G Suite. You do also get a little bit more meat features as well, real-time language translations and live meeting transcripts. But definitely Business Plus is where most organizations are going to end up because of the vault, the higher storage, and the more advanced meat features. Go ahead, sorry about that. The next level up, and we're going to jump out of the business family to the enterprise side of things, and that starts with enterprise standard. Following the same thing again. So storage is now at unlimited. So that is no longer a pooled situation when you get into the enterprise side of things. It's completely unlimited for everybody if you have more than 5 users. Meetings jumped up to 250 participant limit. However, you do gain the ability to do in-domain live stream for up to 10,000 people. So if you need to have more than 250 attendees, you can live stream it and everybody can watch. And this is really where the security starts to come into play. Enterprise is definitely revolves around security and visibility into what's going on inside the domain. So you can see some things here like advanced data loss prevention. We just talked about basic, which is for your email. Advanced gives that feature to Drive as well. So if somebody tries to take a picture and upload it to their Drive of confidential information, social security number, anything like that, or they create a document with that in it, it will follow those rules that you set up. You gain Cloud Identity Premium, context-aware access, and password-vaulted apps as well. So that's all for being able to log into third-party applications and restricting how users can log into either their G Suite or third-party applications with context-aware access. So for example, if you only want them to log into their Google Workspace, when they're in the office or in a certain location, and then when they're outside of that location, you only want them to see things like their calendar. You don't want them going into their Drive, for example. You can do that with context-aware access. And then more advanced control over the domain itself and the reporting that you can do. You can export reports to BigQuery through Gmail and through Sheets. So that can be really helpful if you're trying to run advanced reports or graphs and Data Studio and that kind of thing. And then iOS and Windows device management. We talked a little bit about Android, but this gives you the ability to manage Windows 10 devices and iOS. Enterprise Plus is the top level of the enterprise tier and of Workspace as a whole. This is pretty much as high as you can go, and it has all of the features that Google offers. So again, storage unlimited, meetings 250 users. It jumps up the live stream from 10,000 attendees to 100,000, and then AI noise cancellation. With everybody working remotely, or a vast majority of people now, there is a lot of background noise, of course, when we're doing these meetings, dogs barking or kids or doorbells or what have you. So that does filter a lot of that out. It just picks up the person who's speaking voice, which is really nice. And as it goes with the enterprise tier, more security, and especially on Enterprise Plus is where you're going to get it the most. So you're going to get the security center, which includes the dashboard. So you can see everything that's going on in the domain from like a 10,000 foot view. So if there's a lot of spoofing going on, phishing, who's getting a lot of spam emails, it allows you to look into that. And then once you do identify something, it allows you to dive deeper in with the investigation tool from the security center. And that will give you the ability to figure out where emails are coming from, why they're going to this person, and then take action on them. You can quarantine them. You can delete the email straight from the user's inbox and things like that. You also get deep email scanning, the security sandbox. So before those emails even hit the domain where an admin has to take action on it, it will go through a quarantined environment where Google's system will determine, is this a malicious email or not? And if it is, it'll hold it there and the admin can come and review it and determine if it actually was. And then if it wasn't, they can send it along back to the user's inbox. That will only happen for emails that it triggers the response. It's not going to do every single email, so it's not going to slow down people's receiving of emails. Other than that, on the insight side, you get work insights, and that is going to be basically what are people doing within their workspace all day, kind of going along with what Google is doing, trying to help people access their applications more often and easier from different environments. This is kind of that for the admins, so they can see if people are actually utilizing those tools that Google is offering and that you're paying for. So how much time are people spending at Gmail a day? How many meetings are they having? How long are the meetings? Are they actually using Sheets? And that's good for a couple of reasons. One, like I just said, you want to make sure that people are utilizing the technology that is being purchased for them, but also maybe they don't know how to use it. And so they're using something different, shadow IT. And so it's important to teach them how to use it properly so that it can be managed and secure. If they're using something that's not part of your tech stack that you're providing to them, there's no way to control it. So you don't really know what's going on. So Work Insights gives you a lot more visibility into that. On the collaboration side, you did gain access to AppSheet Pro, which is a low code or no code application development platform, which can be great for a lot of different use cases like PTO requests or meeting room checkout, device checkout, and it's basically as whatever you can imagine, you can basically build in it. And you don't have to be a developer to do so. It's a lot of WYSIWYG, drag and drop builder. You don't have to know code to use it or anything like that. And then integration with third-party archiving tools comes on Enterprise Plus if you do want to use that. And the last thing I'll mention is the ability to have cloud search for third-party tools as well. So cloud search is basically Google inside of your domain, and it allows you to search basically everything. So I want to see all the documents that I worked on between this user and this user, or all the documents I worked on this week. Basically the power of Google search engine within your domain. In one Enterprise Plus, you get the ability to connect that to third-party apps. So say you have a CRM like Salesforce, for example, you can connect that and then see, okay, I want to search for all the accounts that are in my name that have a document associated with them within my drive, for example, and you'll be able to run really powerful searches that way. And then the last thing I'll mention is data regions. If you need to have your data housed in a certain location, either US or Europe for compliance or just it's your preference, this is the tier that you're going to be able to do that kind of thing at. And I know that was a lot of features, so definitely feel free to ask questions in the chat or email us directly. I know I threw a lot at you, so if there's something that caught your interest, let us know and we can go over it in more detail.
Yeah, exactly. And the additional ancillary components that fit within this environment are Google Voice and Cloud Identity Premium. As Brandon mentioned, some of the enterprise SKUs do come with Cloud Identity Premium, but it's also a third-party add-on if you wanted to go with a business plan. And then Google Voice could be added on to any tier to help really just bring everything together into one unified platform. One of the most significant value conversations that we're having lately are companies that are paying for multiple applications that are now just baked into these Google Workspace SKUs. For instance, if you're paying for Box and Zoom and Slack, right, you can bring all that into Google Workspace, have very similar feature set at 40, 50, 60% of the price. I would say definitely Box and Zoom. Slack, is a little bit different because a lot of companies are so reliant on it, but definitely Box and Zoom can be replaced with what Google has done with Google Meet and what Google has done with Google Drive and shared drives now. So definitely have that conversation with us and we can walk you through a demo or use case scenario. I know a lot of people are asking about dates. So right now, October 6th is when Workspace launched. January 15th is an important date that most folks should be aware of because that's the cutoff date to transition to the new SKU if you're not already on the new SKU or locked into a discounted commitment. If you're on Flex right now, you will automatically be enrolled into the new Workspace SKU on January 16th. And then if you are interested in transitioning to Workspace earlier than January 15th, if you're in a contract, there are discounts available to transition you into those Workspace SKUs. So really in the next 2 to 2.5 months, hopefully we'll be able to talk with most of you folks to work out what does that transition plan look like. If you're already in a commitment, nothing will change until that renewal date comes up, whether it's a year or 2 or 3 years from now. But again, if you're on Flex or if your renewal is before January 15th, we should definitely speak with you and let you know what your options are. If you have questions, would like to follow up or discuss what you can receive in terms of discounts, commitments, options, please email customer success@upcurvecloud.com. your customer success manager or somebody will get a hold of you, walk you through all the options. We're going to have some Q&A right now, but again, please reach out to us with any questions. If you need any demos, if you need to walk through any specific scenarios, definitely let us know. With that being said, let's jump over to some Q&A because I know there are a lot of questions that have come in.
So first one here, educational nonprofit pricing. They are different SKUs, different tiers, depending on which one of those you are. So the pricing will reflect that as well. That's definitely a conversation that needs to be had one-on-one. It's very different for each organization. When will the transition happen? Kind of what Joey was just saying there at the end. You can transition now. The new tiers are live, and there are some incentives to do so early. If you're in a contract, then you do not have to transition now. You are grandfathered until your renewal date, and then you can make that switch. Or if you're on flexible, you'll automatically be switched the first part of the first quarter of 2021. So if you do just want to wait and see what happens, you could do so, but I would advise switching before then, just because like I said, Google is offering transition discounts to do so. Let's see. Is there an option where different departments or users can be on a different plan than others, or does it need to be organization-wide? So there's two different rules for that. One is you have to meet certain parameters if you want to be on both enterprise and business. You have to have a certain amount of users. However, if you're inside one of those families, like only in business, you can have partial on one and the other. So I can have some people on business starter, some on plus, some on standard. That's definitely doable. Why wasn't this meeting using Google Meet? Just because it gives us a little bit better format on GoToWebinar for the time being. But a lot of those features are coming for Google Meet, and you'll definitely see that transition happening very shortly.
I knew we'd get that question, and it also has to do with the amount of people. We were expecting at least 100 or more folks here. And to Brandon's point, there are still some webinar style components that are going to be released before the end of the year. And I would say starting January, all of our webinars are going to be on Google Meet.
Yeah,
I've got one here. With DLP for Gmail, will email encryption be coming as well? So on Enterprise, there is an option for a type of encryption. They are also looking at adding some other features like encrypting drive folders as well as file fingerprinting as well too. So there are some options. Shoot us an email and we can discuss that in detail because it can get pretty specific depending on exactly what you're trying to accomplish.
Yep, definitely. Another one from Danielle. How do the levels migrate from current G Suite levels? For example, we were prepaid annual business in G Suite. Where would we be? Will we be auto migrated to a certain tier? Yes, at your renewal date, we can definitely discuss it ahead of time. But for the time being, nothing's going to change to your account until your renewal comes up.
If you did want to make a transition early, though, the remainder of your annual that you paid would be credited towards the next subscription. So you wouldn't lose anything if you decide to make that transition ahead of time. It would be a credit carried forward.
Yep, definitely. And another question from Daniel, actually, will webinar be an add-on or included in a certain tier? There's no really webinar for Google. It's all through Google Meet, and it has webinar-like features. And you're going to get the most webinar features at Business Plus and higher.
Thank you everybody for joining today. We will be sending a copy. Again, please email customer success at upcurvecloud.com if you have any questions or would like additional information. We're here to help in any way we can.